Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight. Happy Monday.
Boy, what a busy weekend. I mean, we had President Trump speaking at Turning Point USA, some conference they had, and he said some interesting things. Tucker Carlson spoke there. I think other people like Vivek Ramaswamy spoke. One thing that I think is interesting, some of the candidates for the presidency, even President Trump said during an interview with Maria Bartiromo yesterday that some of these people who are running for the presidency may very well end up on his cabinet because they are dignified, they're handling themselves well, they're getting themselves out so the people are becoming aware of who they are. He also said that some of these people who are running for president actually called him beforehand and asked him his opinion. Not necessarily approval, but opinion.
Yeah, my question would be, who are the ones that called? Because at least there's respect there.
He didn't say, Bill. He said he didn't want to embarrass them.
I know that the Democrats are, saying, they're picking on this guy, Trump, and they're trying to downplay him, and they're trying to uplift Biden, and they're trying to make it like, well, and Biden's, has gotten some funds, but it's nowhere near some of the past record funds that they've generated, but they're saying this early on. It's a good indication. Well, it's an indication they do have a war machine, and they don't care, the age of that machine. They're going to sit there and put the bucks behind it so that they can support, in my mind, the steal.
I think that President Trump, he has got to be aware of the fact that if the system isn't fixed beforehand, he's going to lose again, no matter how many votes he gets, because the system is corrupt. I just have to think that going into this election, there's something happening behind the scenes that we're not aware of. Otherwise, it's an exercise in futility, frustration.
Yeah, I got to find the guy's name here, but James Delisco Beeks, one of the January 6 people.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, he's he didn't take the deal from the government, screw
right.
you and all this stuff. But in a kind of an obscure paper or whatever it is, the TGB, at least I don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm. TGP?
TGP, yeah.
Gateway Pundit. The Gateway Pundit.
Oh, it is? Okay,
yeah.
It is the Gateway. Why did they put the initials there?
I have no idea, Bill. To confuse old guys like us.
Like me, anyway. But anyway, he sent out a message of hope saying that everything that is hidden will be revealed.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do believe something has to be happening behind the scenes. Otherwise, it's like what Albert Einstein said, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. And I don't think that President Trump is insane. Mike Pence is running for president. Yeah, I know. Okay. I have two cuts. But
all right, I know exactly. Yeah, go ahead.
Mike Pence was talking with Tucker Carlson. I'm going to play the short version that was released initially, and then I'm going to play the longer version that Pence released.
Well, we have to comment between, yeah.
Of course. Here's the short version.
You are distressed that the Ukrainians don't have enough American tanks. Every city in the United States has become much worse over the past 3 years. Yeah. Drive around. There's not one city that's gotten better in the United States. Okay. And it's visible. Our economy has degraded. The suicide rate has jumped. Public filth and disorder and crime have exponentially increased. Right. And yet, your concern is that the Ukrainians, a country most people can't find on a map, who've received tens of billions of U.S. tax dollars, don't have enough tanks. I think it's a fair question to ask, where's the concern for the United States in that?
Well, it's not my concern. Tucker, I've heard that routine from you before, but that's not my concern.
First of all, that is the dumbest response I've ever heard from a politician.
You own your words, and he said it right there. Not my concern. But wait, I guess in the speech he realized he did a big faux pas. But he's going, oh, you didn't hear the whole cut. That's fake news. But you did hear it. But in in fairness, I guess we can play the whole cut. But the takeaway is still it's not his concern. But
here he is, the version that Mike Pence released. It's a little longer, about a minute longer. I want to see whether you think it makes a difference.
I know you're running for president. You are distressed that the Ukrainians don't have enough American tanks. Every city in the United States has become much worse over the past 3 years. Yeah. Drive around. There's not one city that's gotten better in the United States. And it's visible. Our economy has degraded. The suicide rate has jumped. Public filth and disorder and crime have exponentially increased. And yet, your concern is that the Ukrainians, a country most people can't find on a map, who've received tens of billions of U.S. tax dollars, don't have enough tanks. I think it's a fair question to ask, where's the concern for the United States in that?
Well, it's not my concern. Tucker, I've heard that routine from you before, but that's not my concern. I'm running for president of the United States because I think this country's in a lot of trouble. I think Joe Biden has weakened America at home and abroad. And as president of the United States, we're going to restore law and order in our cities. We're going to secure our border. We're going to get this economy moving again. And we're going to make sure that we have men and women on our courts at every level that will stand for the right to life and defend all the God-given liberties enshrined in our Constitution. Anybody that says that we can't be the leader of the free world and solve our problems at home has a pretty small view of the greatest nation on earth. We can do both. And as president of the United States, we will secure our border, we will support our military, we will revive our economy and stand by our values, and we will also lead the world for freedom under my administration. I promise you.
Amen. Vice President Mike Pence, thank you very much.
And I got to tell you, first of all, somebody should teach these guys mic presence, because a lot of these guys hold the mic too close and you can hear them breathing between words, and it's an annoying thing.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. But anyway, I heard his explanation. Did you hear the very end? The very end of what he just said which was the explainer version from the Pence people. He got about 6 people clapping. I don't know where he thinks his campaign is going, but it sure isn't going to the presidency.
I will tell you where it's going, besides hell in a handbasket. The point is, you can always tell by fundraising. That's an indicator, not the extreme indicator, but he hasn't even raised enough campaign funds to be considered a threat to be allowed into the debates.
Oh, really? He hasn't had enough people? I think he needs, 40,000 contributions or contributors to his campaign?
He doesn't have it.
Well, I think it would be a waste of money, to be honest with you, because the guy has about as much chance of being president as I do. The amazing thing about it is, his attraction was he was part of the, quote, Trump team. That's what made him appealing during the 4 years. Yeah. When he turned around and took a shiv to his boss, the guy who gave him everything, when he stuck him in the back, all of that goodwill on the part of the Trump supporters went away. He is alone on an island with no support, my opinion.
Yeah, the other guy that's having a problem, believe it or not, and it's the big contender, DeSantis.
Oh, big time, yeah.
He's running into contribution problems. They were doing well at first. Now they're dropping down. And he's at the point to where he's already fired, 12 staff members, and he's going to start cutting deeper into his inner circle.
Well, they say that President Trump is still very undecided about whether he's going to participate in the debates. He doesn't really think it's a good idea. He still hasn't made a final decision, but everything he says seems to indicate that it would serve him no purpose. He has 60% of the vote, and DeSantis has dropped down to 17.
Yeah. Well, now what would happen if Trump says, "No, I'm not gonna go and do the debates," and the other candidates can't cut the muster?
Well, that just makes him stronger. By the way, right. We talked about what Trump should do should he not go to the debate. That's maybe have a rally right opposite of it. You
do
know,
a rally, or do a series of, maybe, they used to do town hall meetings. Maybe he does his rallies in town halls, private things to where it's all about Trump, and he's an all about me kind of guy anyway. And people, they like that.
He spoke at the Turning Point conference over the weekend, and he wrapped up his speech with this.
2024 is our final battle. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country. And we will rout the fake news media. We will defeat crooked Joe Biden, and we will drain the swamp once and for all. We made a lot of progress, but it's pretty deep.
People love the fact that this guy is taking shots, constant shots from the left, and he's still standing,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like the old Elton John song, I'm Still Standing. But he is. I mean, he's taking the shots. And, the thing you got to go back and look at, he's been accused of a lot of things. I mean, you would think that he's the devil incarnate if he did even half of those things. But nothing has ever been proved, even with that whack job up in New York that accused him of rape and now going after defamation of character. And the only way that she can get those charges through is with a liberal judge. The court sat there and said, no, there was no rape here. Mm-hmm. There was no rape at all, which was what that case was about. But yet they figured he had enough money. They could award her some money just for going through the trial.
The process.
Come on, what the hell is wrong with America?
Hey, look at what happened in Boston over the weekend. Did you hear what happened in Boston? Michelle Wu is the mayor.
Yeah.
Well, they come to find out that she had the Boston Police Department was essentially pulling raids on the homes of her political foes. She had a hit list, an enemies list. And it got out to the media, but it didn't get out to the local media in Boston. It got out to like the Daily Mail in London. It's being covered all around the world, but it's not being covered in Boston, with the exception of our friend Jeff Cooner on WRKO in Boston, the talk station.
Yeah. Good guy.
Yeah, but these people are, if you think about it, they're doing what Biden is doing. You're saying, wait a second, an enemies list? Well, Biden has kind of an enemies list, and also Biden's doing things like ignoring rulings from the Supreme Court.
Yeah, and not only does he have that list, but he censors and he goes after people that are in the media. Anybody right talking, they are subject to prosecution by Biden. Now there was a ruling on that they couldn't do that, but over Friday or over the weekend. A rogue judge, I think it was from Louisiana, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, he stayed.
No. Yeah, and sat there. How this so-so has jurisdiction from Louisiana that
Well, he's a federal judge. They can do anything anywhere. I mean, that's what they think, and that's how they're treated too.
I don't believe in that, but either way. So now, and now that the window of opportunity is reopened. You don't think he's going to take good liberty of that before he gets shut down again?
Well, I mean, the Supreme Court of the United States said, look, the student loans forgiveness is illegal. You can't go there. That's a ruling from the Supreme Court, the highest judicial branch in our country.
And overturned.
And what happened? No. Biden said, screw you.
Screw it.
Yeah. We're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, he's a dictator, and if you don't realize that, even if you're sitting there going, yeah, but he's liberal and he believes in what I believe in, well, you better take another close look at this guy, because what you think you're going to be getting, that's all just a puppet show for you. He's a dictator, and soon as he gets this one part locked up, he's coming after you.
That's just it. What you just said is so true. It's great until he turns his attention to you. And if he looks at what you're doing and he doesn't like it, then you're in trouble. But people on the left, I hate it. The people who are, I don't want to say Democrats, because there are moderate Democrats and then there are leftist Democrats. And it's the leftist Democrats who are controlling that party right now. So much so that you can look at somebody like RFK Jr., who is a moderate, who, by the way, gets along with President Trump, of all people. They get along. They're friendly, But moderate Democrat, he doesn't fit into the party. Robert Kennedy doesn't fit into the party. Don't think for 1 second if Joe is incapacitated, the Democratic Party is going to race over to RFK Jr. They're going to go after.
Hell no.
They're going to go for Gavin Newsom or Gretchen Whitmer up in Michigan, but they're not going to go to RFK Jr. because he's too middle of the road.
Yeah,
and it's a shame, but I wouldn't be surprised, by the way, if President Trump gets in and he makes RFK Jr. a cabinet member on his in his administration.
Well, it could be. My whole point is that when everyone goes, "Oh, you're a right-wing conservative," you're this, you're that. I'm going to be honest with you right now. I think both parties suck. And I think that when you are a moderate conservative, a person of true value, we're both, whether you're left or right party oriented, we're outcast on our own shit.
Well, what happened when Andrew Jackson became president? When Andrew Jackson became president, people were dissatisfied with the Whigs and the Tories or whatever the heck they were called. I mean, the parties back then, the Democrats and the Whigs, I guess. I get those early parties mixed up, but they didn't have the Republican Party yet. So Jackson comes in, and all of a sudden the Republican Party is started, essentially. The grand old party, I don't think is the oldest party. I think it's the Democrat Party that is the oldest party.
Democrat is the oldest. I mean, you had the Federalist, you had all these different things.
But what happened, and I think this is what's happening now. What you said is so true. You're sick of both parties. And I think there's a large following of people out there in the country who are sick of both parties. The MAGA movement, I think, is an example. Now, I don't think it'll be called the MAGA party, but something may come out as a result of the MAGA movement that is a reflection of those people.
Well, maybe not, because, and I'll throw in a theory here, because it's one that I've thought about before. But let's just say that, the division of the left and the right is purposeful to get people where we are right now going, both parties suck. And everybody says these parties suck. Now, the further, to take that thought a bit further, today's youth, the future of politics in this country, they're going after them with the student loans and stuff like that, free stuff, because they don't understand what it's coming from, and they don't like either party, and they're not beholden to Joe Biden. They're not beholden to Donald Trump. They're beholden to this idea of free stuff. And could this be where socialism finally steps into the United States and takes a hold as the answer to the division
I think it's a good
between
point.
these two?
I would submit we're there now. I think the left, I think the administration is more socialist than it is Democrat, traditional Democrat.
But I don't think that they're going to be the power in play. I'm just saying there's a bigger force out there.
Do you see it being a one-party government?
Oh, hell yeah.
Well, if that happens, then the whole idea of America is shot.
And democracy is out the door.
Yeah, because the idea of having different voices, different opinions, having different platforms, that was what made this thing so interesting and so workable back in the day. But if you take it so that there's no more debate, it's just here it is, this is what you believe or else, then we're no longer the United States of America, and the Constitution is of no significance.
Look, there's no doubt it's money that runs the world. Whether you like it or not, it rules the world. It always has. But I don't think that they like the idea that we had freedom of choice. Everything that was the United States was
the voting
about.
system. Obviously, they didn't like the voting system.
Yeah. I mean, even when Trump came in and the Democrats were going, oh, all this, And, the Queen, who's now gone, and not that she was a great prize, but she sat there and said, it's time for America to come home. The great experiment is over. The great experiment.
Yeah.
Well, the experiment may be over, but so are they. They're in no better shape. But they are part of that money.
I would say that this is part of our growing pains, and this is a very critical part of our existence as a country. I mean, we are at a pivotal point in our development because we're still a young country, whether you want to believe it or not. We've gone through world wars, and we've grown civil wars, revolutionary wars. We've gotten to this point right here, and President Trump, you heard him saying that comment that this is the last big battle, and
it's the final showdown, the final countdown too.
This is it. I truly believe he's right. If we don't get this right, we're basically we're done.
If you've ever raised a child and they got to 21, congratulations. You did a good job. You protected them. You nurtured them. You educated them. But even then, when you launch them into the world, but you've done your job. We're still a baby. We're not even 21 yet. But I think, no, we won't be 300 years old, but we will be.
We're what is it? 250? We're approaching 250 in 2 years.
Whatever. So we're going to be at that point to where, okay, it's sink or swim time. Is this baby going to make it to its 21st birthday?
Well, boy, I'll tell you, I have a lot of questions about that. If you're talking about the 2024 election, I look at President Trump and he says all the right things and he has the strength that you want back in office. And this time he's not going to take any of the crap from the left. He's going to have a much stronger administration because he knows who the players are now. He didn't know it when he went in 2016, but he knows who they are now. And he's going to, as they would say, if you pardon the expression, kick ass and take names. That's exactly what he's going to do if he's president again. That being said, I think the deep state knows it. And remember, it's not Biden, it's the deep state that's running this administration, and they are going to do everything in their power, and right now they have a lot of power. They're going to do everything in their power to destroy Donald Trump, to cripple his movement, and to make it so it's impossible for him to be president again.
That's true. They're doing everything they can, and anytime there's somebody out there, like Kamala made a mistake, several mistakes in speeches over the weekend where she talked about, we're going to reduce the population. Well, the White House said, we can't have that, so they edited her speech, which was already given, and I guess they revised the audio, but the simple fact is,
she already gave the speech, but they're revising it after the speech.
Yeah, they're revising. She never said that. What the hell do you think you were here?
Were
you on drugs?
Yeah, don't believe your lying ears. What the heck is wrong with you?
Oh, well, I guess Kamala, too, was at the Jesse Jackson retirement banquet ball or whatever it is. And, she was doing her Imagine, he's the one that introduced the rainbow before anybody ever knew. I'm sitting there going, even in his, I don't forget what he has, Alzheimer's, dementia or Parkinson's. Either way, he, you just saw him sitting there like, he had no idea what was being said about him. And I am quite sure, I'm not putting down the Rainbow Coalition, because the Rainbow Coalition was not about pride, but she wanted to make it a pride thing. Or at least that was the take.
He's got to be 80 at least.
Yeah, he announced a few years ago that he was losing it, and I don't wish that on anybody. I don't care if we don't agree. I don't want to see somebody suffer or be a prisoner in their own mind. Yeah. That would be devastating.
Hey, Bill, a news story nobody is mentioning anywhere. Seriously, I'm amazed that it just passes under the radar. There was a massive explosion in Plaquemine, Louisiana. Multiple explosions and fires occurred at the Dow chemical plant in Plaquemine. Now, this wasn't a little pop. This wasn't a little poof. If you want to go see what it looks like, I would suggest going to the Gateway Pundit. They have the video there, and it's a mushroom cloud.
Yeah. Now, they're saying nothing has been detected in the air, but, keep
they
in
always
mind,
say that.
Dow Chemical, along with the plant there, and, you have they can't shut those plants down, by the way. You know that, right?
No, I didn't know that. No.
No, they have to. Those things will be around in some kind of operation throughout our lives, our children's life, our children's children's life, and on and on and on, unless they can figure out one thing, because the contamination they put into the ground has a half-life that's in the tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years. So if you shut down the plant and say, we're going to level the ground.
Remediate they can't remediate the ground and bring it, no?
There's no amount of money in the world that can pay for it.
Wow.
So these plants are there, and they're active in some way, form, and they keep at least a skeleton crew. So when that place blew, they said, everybody's in place, and nobody was hurt, which makes you wonder.
Oh, I don't know how that can possibly be unless the place was on a Sunday shift and nobody was on site.
It happened on a Friday or a Saturday.
And the first thing I thought of, remember we talked about that 60,000 pounds of ammonium nitrate that they haven't.
Off the train,
it was stolen.
Well, this is the second. Well, now the one in Kentucky was a purposeful one. We blew it up, which again, it's a chemical plant, and when you do that, we don't even have enough money, or will ever have enough money as a country to sit there and fix that land.
They were making nerve gas in Kentucky, right? And they say that it was an intentional destruction of the nerve gas, but we're only taking their word for it. I'm just saying.
If we're taking responsibility for doing it, then that means that we take responsibility for the cleanup. And from what I understand, I used to live down in West Virginia for a while and programmed a station down there. And it was called the chemical, they called it the Chemical Valley. It's where they made that stuff that killed all those people. There were two places that it was made: Charleston, West Virginia, actually South Charleston, and then in Bhopal. And you might remember back in the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
They had that leak, and it killed like 5,000 people.
Well, you know what amazes me is that these plants are made, they go to the most pristine states in the country. West Virginia is a beautiful state. If you've never been there, you owe it to yourself to get in the car and go for a drive. Go to West Virginia. When you hear that Almost Heaven, West Virginia from John Denver's song, it's true. Except that in certain areas where there's not a lot of people, where they can sneak it past, where politicians will bend the rules, companies will move in these plants like Bill's talking about, and all of a sudden, people start making a lot of money. I mean, people in the neighborhood start making a few bucks. All of a sudden, everyone's getting new homes and nice cars, and everything's great until there's an accident. And then when there's an accident, the whole place is contaminated. It's ruined. I mean, families have to move away or they die. Homes are left and abandoned because you can't go back. Am I right? I saw a documentary on that West Virginia situation that you're talking about. I remember it very well.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And not only do you have those things, and I'm just talking about West Virginia here, in South Charleston, but you have them all the way down the Kanawha River, going over into Huntington, and in between the two cities is an old munitions dump, and not a munitions dump of sorts. It was a chemical dump, and which is where I think I mentioned it before. They talk about the Mothman, and what it really is. It's a giant bird that its eyes glow because its migratory territory is down where the chemical plant is. And it eats stuff there, and that chemical gets in its body and its bloodstream. And at night, its eyes are
phosphorescent. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's probably what was seen on the bridge that scared everybody. And it just happened to be at a time that the bridge structurally went down, which is a little bit up the road. But there's,
back in the early 70s, Bill? Wasn't it early mid-70s? Yeah.
Yeah, but you cannot sit there and clean that mess up. The bridge and the Mothman is a whole different thing. But the chemicals, they're a real threat. And those plants are all over the country. In Louisiana, I think there's two. I think there's another one. It's an oil place, but it's also got the same chemical stacks up in off Interstate 20, up around Shreveport. So
Yeah.
I just find it interesting. You got the Canadian fires that are bringing in
Oh,
smoke.
that's the next story we were going to talk about, Bill.
Well, I'm showing you the map here. We don't do
Yeah.
video, but if you see all the dots there.
I know. It's amazing.
But you go up north. Now, this is actually the wrong map, but it's going up north to Canada, and it's showing all the fires that are going on, and it's not a circle anymore. It's spread, but the pattern is coming down into it. We're under another warning that we've got more smoke on the way.
It's almost as if, Bill, the people who are setting these fires are aware of how the jet stream works and how it swoops up into Canada and then comes back down. It is.
It is. And then you had Kamala, who didn't say that we have to reduce our population. And here you go with all of that. And now these plants blowing up. Well, we didn't measure anything in the air because you didn't take a measurement, you a-hole.
I said to my wife today, yesterday actually, I said tomorrow's going to be, meaning today, another air action day, or whatever they call it. They're going to have another day of be careful how you breathe, which is essentially what they're saying. Stay in your house. Don't go. My wife goes for long walks. She does it every day. And
not a good idea because
I said, don't do
we
it.
got the heat wave. We got the heat wave, so the air is stale and stagnant, and then they're mixing crap in the air.
Yep.
I mean, it is not a good scenario, but you know what? People say, just stay inside, run the AC. But the AC filters outside air. You're still getting the outside air in. I mean, you almost need to wear a mask in your own home, and I hate to say that. And I there you go. Remember the lockdown and the mask? What it did to America?
Yeah. Yeah.
What if we don't need a virus anymore? We just need bad air on the planet.
Well, I said to my wife, can you remember in all of our life a situation where we were being inundated by this pollutant from Canada? I mean, you would think that if we're having it this year and it's no big deal, just it's something being caused by the fires, that it would be something which was happening 10 years ago and then 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Oh, it's just Canadian fire season. No. Nothing like that. All of a sudden, now, out of nowhere, we're supposed to just accept the fact that, it's the Canadian fires. And by the way, why aren't these fires out? Why is it taking so damn long to put the fires out? Is it lightning strikes?
Anytime there's a lot of lightning strikes in, and it does seem kind of odd when you look at this map, and then they got the jet stream up here.
Yeah.
It does kind of like a U.
Yep.
So it comes out of Canada, drops down into the United States and goes back up.
Yeah.
And the fires just seem to be strategically placed
along
where the jet stream.
Exactly.
What a coincidence.
Yeah, my God.
Yeah, well.
Nothing to see here. Just
who
keep
the
moving
hell
along.
would have thought?
Yeah. And so what happens? Let's say hypothetically, let's just play a little game here. Let's say their thoughts are, we need to get rid of some people, and the older people with respiratory problems. We can do two things. If we light these fires and we get these pollutants in the air, we can, in a way, we can get rid of a lot of older people, in these nursing homes and places like that, cut back on our Medicare and Medicaid responsibilities. And I'm thinking about how, don't put it past sinister people in this country to think about stuff like this. I mean, Bill Gates, you heard, he's a guy who's in favor of lowering the worldwide population to 550 million. We are now, in this country alone, 330 million. I mean, that would mean that the entire population of China would have to disappear. That means that 200,000 people could be added on top of our population, and that would be it for the world population. That means that what happens to the people in Africa, Europe, But this is how these people are thinking. They think that people. You heard Carmela thinks the population has to be minimized, shrunk.
Well, so all these rich people. Let's identify something here. All these rich people that are doing all this spouting of stuff. Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Who else?
Klaus Schwab. John Kerry. I mean, I would imagine if I took some time, I could put a nice list together. It's people who are basically proponents of the World Economic Forum.
What is their race? What's their color?
I hate to say it, but most of them are Caucasian.
So, you talk about maybe reparations are in order, but not from you and me, from Bill Gates and all these guys that are conspiring, because if they're going to reduce the population, are they going to do genocide and take out races?
You notice that it's guys like George Soros, worth billions, and Bill Gates worth billions. These people, they live in a different world than we do. They're on the same planet, but they have different rules. They have a different lifestyle, and you ain't part of their world. Period. You're an inconvenience. You're breathing their air, for God's sakes. What the hell is wrong with you? I mean, this is how these people think. The common man, the average guy like you and me, and our listeners, trust me, our listeners are the common man. And that, by the way, from all around the world, we're not just talking about U.S. common man. We're talking about Canadian, Germans. We have Germans listening to our program, Russians.
Yeah,
we have people in England and Spain, and God bless them all. These are people who are interested in the same thing that we're interested in: freedom, prosperity, family, God. And these other guys who are trying to change the world have been enormously successful financially. Some of them ruthless, by the way. George Soros was asked one time in an interview with 60 Minutes, they said, does it bother you that by becoming very wealthy that you had to crush some people financially? And he said, no, it's just business.
Just business.
And he said it with the coldness that you would expect, for example, a Nazi SS officer in World War II. When they explained why did you participate in the genocide, I was just taking my orders. I was just doing what I was told to do. It was just orders. It's that same heartlessness. That's what And by the way, speaking of Nazis, Soros, even though he was Jewish by birth, he was an aide to the Nazis in Hungary during World War II.
That's right.
And he was very proud of it. He said it was one of the most exciting times of his life.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's a bigger power out there. And, perhaps the anger. I mean, there's a representative out in California, and she's saying that white people are evil. Well, there are some evil white people. I'm not one of them. And I don't believe in the reparations. But then again, I look at the Soroses and the Bill Gates, and, here's Kamala saying it. Well,
we're paying a price right now for seriously, Bill, we're paying the price for electing dumb people to politics. Yeah, I think you're more specific, but I think we're in agreement. Yes. We are electing stupid people into politics. I mean, if you sat down with some of these Alexandria Ocasio-Cortezes and her, all her cohorts, if you sat down and had a one-on-one conversation with them, they would be empty parking lots. They would be vacuous. They would have nothing to contribute to the conversation. But yet, they're representatives. They have a position of importance. They can influence a vote, and this is bad. This is tough. We got to pay more attention to who the heck we're electing into office. Don't just pick somebody because they're a Democrat or a Republican. Listen to what the hell they're saying.
There's I forget his name. He's but he scares the Democrats. He is getting ready to announce his candidacy, I think, for the Green Party. I mean, he's going to run, and he's a real lefty.
Is this Cornel West?
That's it.
Cornel West, yeah, yep.
And they're worried about him. That they say, well, the bad thing is that'll give Trump the win. Well, no, it won't give Trump the win. Trump had the win the last time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He'll have the win this time. Yeah. But that would make it hard for them to do their steal if this guy comes in and puts significant numbers over there. And what it could do is the Democratic Party could be in trouble of being, a spot in the history books, a page in the history books. And the scary thing is because, there is a move that's out there trying to, take the youth and offer all this free stuff and get in socialism.
Oh, yeah.
And
what they're trying to do is they're trying to entice the youngsters who aren't really paying attention, and it's no fault of their own. They're kids. They're kids. A few years ago, the biggest thing was who's going to go to the prom. And now they're in college. Maybe they're not really paying attention because they got a final next week. They got to study for this, study for that. They don't think like we think from experience about what the world is like and what's happening to our world. So what they do is they try in their naivete, the evil ones offer them free stuff. This is what we are. We'll pay off your education. You don't have to worry about a college loan. I know you signed an agreement and you made a commitment, but commitments are for like Republicans. We're going to pay it all. You're going to just forget about it. Go your merry way. You want to wear a dress in the military? You want to be a trans officer? Sure, why not? We're changing our military approach. This is what these people do.
Mm-hmm. It's all to divide us and to conquer, and we are being. They got a good chance of conquering us.
Hey, Bill, another story which you haven't heard a thing about. Bibi Netanyahu, very close to President Trump. He's the Israeli prime minister.
He's not doing well.
No. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was rushed to the hospital on Saturday after he lost consciousness. Netanyahu, 73, was reportedly complaining about chest pains before he was taken to the hospital. According to the Jerusalem Post, Netanyahu lost consciousness while at home. He fell down and he hit his head. That's not a good thing. The prime minister is in good condition, according to his office. Of course, they always say that. Oh, the prime minister is fine. Of course, he's not breathing, but no. I mean, they always come out with, they try to tamp down stories. If there's a shooting, oh, we got the guy, there's nothing to see here. Or if there's an explosion, they'll say, well, within the first 5 minutes, they'll tell the news, oh, it wasn't a terrorist act. And then Bibi Netanyahu collapses and he hits his head, but he's in good condition and everything's fine. Don't worry about it.
The fact that he hit his head, the fact that he passed out, the fact that he had chest pains, those are all serious signs that he is in serious health.
Well, you gotta wonder. He is not liked by a large faction of the left in Israel, just like Trump is not liked by a large faction of the left in the U.S. And the left in Israel and the left in the U.S. they're cousins. They really are. They want the same things for their country, like the left does in this country. And Netanyahu stands for, conservatism. Essentially, he's very pro-Israel. And now all of a sudden he collapses and is rushed to the hospital. I mean, it could be just a coincidence, but there's a part of me, because I don't trust stuff anymore. Do you? I don't take that stuff on face value.
Dude. I mean, does this look like a face that trusts, everything that's out there? I mean,
that's a good point. No, I just think that there's more to the story. It wouldn't surprise me if you find out someday that maybe this was an attempt on his life, for example. They could do it any number of ways.
Well, as far as I'm concerned right now, he's still in harm's way.
Yeah.
Till I hear or see something different, yeah, he's in harm's way.
A 49-year-old man pretending to be a woman took the bronze medal from female athletes in the 400-meter race in the Para World Championships in Paris on Thursday.
Really?
It's everywhere now. I mean, everywhere. I mean, Bill,
Go ahead.
we live in a world where all throughout my life, feminism was a movement that was growing. Women wanted their independent. They wanted to be considered equals. They wanted to be looked at as being no less and no more than men. They wanted the same pay. They wanted the same positions. They wanted respect and they deserved it. Okay. All of a sudden, in 2021 or so, this movement comes along and confiscates their awards, their trophies, their positions, their achievements. The trans movement, guys come along, all you have to do is say, hey, look I'm doing lousy in the men's division. I was 449 ranked. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a skirt on, I'm going to trans, and start winning some races. Now, you think I'm kidding, but
no, that's what they're doing.
The guy was, I think, the guy who won, I think, on Thursday, Valentin Petrillo. He started transitioning in 2019. I think he was ranked like 449th worldwide before when he was a man, and now here he is winning races. You know.
200 years from now, though, somebody's going to look back and say, well, his DNA still says he's a man. You know? I mean, are we ever going to rewrite history and cancel out their wins because they don't deserve it and at least award it to the proper person, the woman, in the woman's race or the event?
You know, I'd like to think that, yes, someday people will come back to their senses. But I don't know. I mean, we have moms and dads enthusiastically bringing Junior to a drag show at the library because it's the in thing. What the hell's wrong with the moms and dads who are doing that?
Right. What was Charles Bronson's wife's name? Because
Jill Ireland?
Yeah.
Jill Ireland.
Yeah. What would she be saying about this? Because she was, now. And where is now? Now, because
you haven't heard a word from Now.
No.
National Organization of Women. You would
Not
think
a
that
damn word.
Why aren't they out there with signs picketing these events? Anytime a trans goes out there on the stage and starts competing against women in their events, why isn't Now out there? I wouldn't, if I had been a contributor to Now, I wouldn't give them a dime more. Not a
Unless
penny
they
more.
got out there. Look, any self-respecting woman that is sitting there going, they ought to be, and they're upset over this trans thing that's going on, I'd be sitting there, I'd be on the phone saying, hey, Now, National Organization of Women, where the hell are you?
Yeah. By the way,
where
I'm
the
not
hell are you?
You want to trans? Fine. You want to transition? That's your business, your body.
You trans right out the damn door because you don't belong.
But you shouldn't be competing with women. You want to compete against other trans. That's all. Have a trans
your own
division.
category.
Yep.
And you know what? I'll sit there and get a beer and some chips, and I'll sit there and laugh at your competition. But that's me, No. Actually, no. If they had a trans division and that's who they are, it's
that's their business. Really,
that's their business. And I would sit there and look at it like a fair sporting event.
See what Charles Barkley came out supporting the trans and Bud Light. It just goes to show you that intelligence doesn't equate to athletic ability or you don't have to be a genius to be a great athlete. I'm just saying, that's like actors. When you see actors saying, well, I support this, some major star says, I don't believe in that. What qualifies that guy to be an expert? Some of them are smart people and have thoughtful answers and stuff like that.
Right.
But some of them are as dumb as a box of rocks. I've met some in my life. You probably have too in the business.
A few here and there, yeah.
Hey, RFK Jr. is trending for, apparently he made some comments over the weekend about COVID-19, and I guess it went over like a box of rocks. Here's what he said.
And we need to talk about bioweapons. I know a lot now about bioweapons because I've been doing a book on it for the past 2.5 years, and you know, the technology that we now have to develop these microbes, we've put hundreds of millions of dollars into ethnically targeted microbes. The Chinese have done the same.
You know, the audio on that is kind of bad, and I'm not going to make you suffer through for another minute and a half, so I'll read to you what happened. RFK Jr. Apparently said, made a comment about COVID-19. It was a video that was recorded this past week, and he was sitting around in like a forum situation. In the video, Kennedy can be heard saying, COVID-19, there is an argument that it is ethnically targeted. COVID-19 attacks certain races disproportionately. COVID-19 is targeted to attack Caucasians and black people. The people who are most immune are Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese. We don't know whether it was deliberately targeted or not, but there are papers out there that show that the racial or ethnic differential in impact is real, meaning it affects certain races more than other races. And he said, and that's why those biolabs in the Ukraine were so important, because that's what they were doing in those labs. Kennedy said that, you know, and I happen to agree with him. But,
I agree with him too.
But because he mentioned Ashkenazi Jews, they said he was being anti-Semitic. The left said he was being anti-Semitic. You know, he didn't say anything wrong in the comments. He was giving an answer based upon information that he had developed over the course of 2 or 3 years of investigating into the COVID-19 situation. And,
well, you know, if you create a virus, you create an antidote. So, you know, you got white people on the left sitting there going, that's a bunch of bunk. Well, did they get the antidote?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's a good point.
Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. I'm just saying.
I think that he had a good point, and I think that the left, right now, it's so easy for the left to criticize the slightest, the littlest thing. People can be, they can be minimized by the left so quickly now because the media is so quick to help them do so. You know, I mean, if they don't like what you're saying, well, look what they do at YouTube. We felt that. We never said anything that was shocking or we didn't use profanity. We were very we got our information from reliable sources, and because we were talking about a subject that they didn't like, we were minimized. And, you know, they don't just pull you. They'll say this was inaccurate. They put a disclaimer out and make it look like you had done something wrong. You know?
Yeah. You're punished in front of the whole world. And, you know, everything that we said was documentable, that you could sit there and the research was there. And how many times has somebody from the left said something, well, it's documentable, and it turned out it wasn't documentable, but it was all fake, but they get a pass. And the story still sits there, and they reuse it over and over and over and over again. They're still taking old stories that were debunked and using it to punish Trump, punish the right, anything they can do to punish.
Came across something interesting over the weekend. I haven't heard it in a while. It's a young Joe Biden being interviewed by a reporter. The first voice you hear, even though it kind of sounds like Joe, it's the reporter. And then you'll hear Joe come on with his answer. But it's only about 40 seconds, but it's worth hearing again. If you've never heard this, and if you ever wonder what kind of guy we have in the White House, no matter how old and how feeble he is right now, this will give you an idea.
Since it's clear that you're not corrupt and you got elected, why should people think that the system produces corrupt results when there you are?
Well, I'm not sure you should assume I'm not corrupt, but thank you for that, though. The system does produce corruption, and I think implicit in the system is corruption, when in fact, whether or not you can run for public office, and it costs a great deal of money to run for the United States Senate, even from a small state like Delaware, you have to go to those people who have money, and they always want something. See, I went to the big guys for the money. I was ready to prostitute myself in the manner in which I talk about it. But what happened was they said, come back when you're 40, son.
He was ready to prostitute himself to the money guys. He said, and the very first thing he says, well, I'm not too sure you think I'm not corrupted. You know?
He said, I'm a whore for hire.
Yeah. Maybe the most truthful thing he said in his whole career was those lines.
And by the way, I don't want to, by saying what I just said, I am not wanting to degrade those women in that industry. I'm just saying, because he's far worse. And so.
Who I missed that, Bill.
No, I said, he's a whore for hire.
I know. Yeah. Well, no, actually, I know what you're saying. You're saying that actually ladies of the night, per se, right? Sometimes more respectable than politicians. You shouldn't. You don't want to debase them.
They probably, they have mothers that love them and still love them and look up to them. They probably have children that look up to them and love them.
You made an interesting point. Did you see that serial killer out in Long Island who was killing all of those prostitutes, and how the media did everything they could to minimize the women, the victims.
Just whores.
Yeah,
they're prostitutes.
They were prostitutes. It was like an excuse for them being murdered, And what you just said is true. They were somebody's daughter, somebody's mom, somebody's child,
And they still love them because that mom was out doing whatever she could to put food on the table for somebody.
Yeah.
And, it is the oldest profession in the world. I've never partaken in that profession, but I'm just saying I am not going to judge somebody on that. Sometimes you do what you have to do. Now, if you go and hold a gun to somebody, I'm going to judge that.
But, media, the self-righteous people in the media will come out and say the women who were prostitutes, who were working the streets, who were picked up and, they say things. Instead of saying Sarah Jones you don't have to even mention what her career was. You don't even have to talk about prostitution, and if you do, there's an easier way of saying it. They call them sex workers now. They do say that. They'll say sex workers, like a construction worker. They call it a sex worker. It's like they can't figure out a better way of describing these people. Maybe they just shouldn't describe them. Maybe they should just say.
Well, they really shouldn't. I mean, they're the victims of society who cast judgment on them. You can't sit there and blame. They're not taking advantage of any guys out there that sit there and pay for that. I'm just saying, these guys, and the guys are the ones that are wrong because they're ruining their family. Yeah. They got a wife at home that depends on them and kids that depend on them, and they're willing to throw it away.
This killer, Bill, is he's got 2 kids, I believe, a wife and 2 kids. His house, by the way, this is an architect. Usually, an architect
lives at a dump.
Oh my God, Bill.
Well, you know what? Have you ever known somebody that's a contract builder that builds homes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you go to their house, and they're always working on it, and it's never done.
Yeah, but
look around.
This guy's not even working on his place. It's fallen apart, and it's really. It looks like it's almost abandoned. And this is where this architect. Usually, you have a place if you're an architect that's kind of nice, so you can point to. Well, this is what I made, or this is what I built, or I designed this house, or I'm living in a building that I designed. This guy, he can't point to where he was living.
Unless he's taking the idea that like a rat rod car, he's got a rat rod house. I don't know, but
maybe
if he's doing well and he's making money, where's that money going? That's something his wife should ask.
Anything else you want to add before we wrap this one up, my friend?
Well, I mean, everybody's talking about doing SmackDowns now, and Chris Christie was asked, what was it, Pierce Brosnan or whatever his name is?
Pierce Morgan.
That's it, Pierce Morgan. Said, if you got in a fight, Christie's going, come on, I'd kick his ass.
That's what
this
he
guy's
said.
78 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, Chris, have you looked in the mirror again?
I think Trump really would I think, all due respect, Chris, At 78 years of age, I think Trump would kick your butt upside and downside.
Yeah, and if he got in a corner, all he'd have to do is throw a donut. You'd chase it, and he could kick your butt then when you're trying to get it.
They're good at that. Critics of Trump, remember Biden saying, I'd like nothing more than to take him out. When I was in school, I would have taken him out back behind the schoolyard and
I'm a tough guy, man. Hey, I'm tough. Hey.
In your wildest dreams, I haven't seen Trump personally, but I think he's about 6'5", and he's a big guy. He's not somebody to be taken lightly. He's a big, strong guy. And if you saw Trump when he was younger, he was in phenomenal shape. He's in good shape now. So I wouldn't be running to make threats like that, Chris. I mean, holy smokes! Have another donut and sit in the corner, will you, please?
Yeah, just knock him down. He's not going to get up. He's going to have to roll across the floor.
Anyway, my friend, we have done it. I have a lot of stories I didn't get to today because we've had a busy show, but a lot of things happening
here too.
A lot of things happening in the world. I wonder, pay attention, folks. See whether they talk about that chemical plant explosion in Louisiana, and see whether they talk anything about Bibi Netanyahu in the news today, or whether they just let it slip away. Whether it just disappears. You never know. The mayor in Boston having a hit list. Any legs on that?
Well, I think there will be legs on it because that's pretty big. And, she was considered such a nice, sweet young girl. Well, she's not so nice now, is she?
Not anymore. Hey, listen, friends, we are out of here. But first of all, I should remind you can call us at 833-538-7868, 833-538-7868.
And there's mail at itsanotherday.com. And with that said...
Yes. Have you bought your lottery tickets yet for another big drawing? I think, is it tonight? I believe yes, it's tonight.
Yeah, there is one. Yeah, I got to get lottery tickets. You're right.
It's like
You're right, sir.
Like $800 or $900 million. I mean, $800 or $900 million. Can you imagine what in the name of gosh would you do if you hit the lottery like that? I mean, I can't even dream. It's not just becoming instantly wealthy; it's becoming instantly obscene wealthy. Well, I
don't know. There's a $2.3 million out in where is it? Nub Lighthouse? Up in somewhere along Maine or New Hampshire, along the shore up there. I'm sure there's.
You'd buy the lighthouse?
No, I wouldn't buy the lighthouse. I'd buy the house that I'm talking about. It's $2.3 million.
Oh, okay. So you already started thinking about how you'd spend the money.
Hell yeah.
See,
anybody can dream.
You wouldn't stay where you were?
No.
Hey, listen, with that, my friend, you have to sign off with your signature sign off.
Hasta la vista, baby. I'm out of here.
You do that so well.
I know. I took years of practice. I went to school for it.
The voice of freedom. CRN America. These days, when you want an answer about just about anything, you ask Alexa. You ask her about the weather. You ask her who won your favorite sporting event. You ask her to find a fact that you can't find anywhere. Well, we did that too. We asked her how many people have downloaded itsanotherday.com. And this is what she said.
From acceleration.com. It has been downloaded as much as 260,433,467 times.
I know. Seems like a lot. Seems like a lot to us too. But it's Alexa. Thanks for making us a part of your day. And tell your friends about itsanotherday.com. We could use an extra listener. What do you do when you only have 260 million?